From the early stages of the pandemic, when it became apparent that people were going to need to shelter at home and stay at home and businesses were going to close, obviously we've been very concerned about the impact on municipal revenue streams. Cities in Mississippi receive an 18.5% diversion of any sales tax that's paid within their municipal boundaries. So retail sales is very important, especially for our larger cities. They're very dependent on that. So when folks had to stay home and non-essential businesses had to close, we knew that our cities would see a drop in sales tax revenue for the first few months of the pandemic, and it's really continued as things have gradually opened up. But not only that, but cities have had to deal with operating a city in the midst of a pandemic. There's still a lot of municipal functions and services that have to continue even in the midst of what we're going through. So they've seen a lot of challenges, not just in loss of revenue, but just how to operate under the conditions that we're all operating under with a pandemic.
Well, I think the first thing is this wearing of the masks. I mean, it's changed the way everybody approaches life, and this is a reminder of, just what we're all dealing with and how invasive a disease it doesn't play by the rules is. Everybody expected that it would go away when the summer came, that it would run its course. But the fact of the matter is we're all having to make decisions that are unprecedented, that are often on incomplete information and sometimes speculation. So we're watching the statistics on death rates, infection rates, but most importantly, what's happening in our hospitals and how our medical community is able to work within these new conditions, these extreme conditions, and make sure that services continue to be available to our citizens. That is paramount for us, so that's always a concern. And nobody in my line of work wants to put additional controls on the public. But the fact of the matter is this disease has done more than inconvenience us. It's starting to have a pretty significant economic impact, and we'll see more as we move into the budget cycle. That is pretty concerning, and people are talking about having to look at layoffs, furloughs, restructuring of their own local governments, restricting travel, curtailing capital projects. So it is likely to have a debilitating effect, particularly economically, but we're also seeing some psychological effect too. So it is concerned. None of us signed up for this when we thought we were going to be participating in city government, but there are no guarantees other than having an opportunity to provide some leadership and some direction and take in everything that's going on from the medical community, from the business community, from citizens at large, seniors all the way down to kids, and try to make the best decisions we can on how long this is going to be with us. We've become clear dealing with COVID-19 is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And it's probably a long haul gambit. And to say it's been an inconvenience would be an understatement, and it continues to be concerning. So we have to be smart in protecting ourselves and others. We have a responsibility.
COVID-19 has a drastic impact on our revenue. We have a revenue shortfall of about $3.5 million. As a result of that $3.5 million, we had to lay off and furlough several employees, 25 employees. We had to cease and stop all infrastructure projects. Of course, we were dealing with the lasting effects of the flood of 2019. And in the flood of 2019, we had municipal damages of about $4 million. And we had to stop most of that work because we have to now address the needs of our citizens regarding COVID-19. Necessary PPEs, making sure our hospitalization rates stay down, the hospital beds. And so we had projects that were critical projects. And a place like Greenville, Mississippi, with a 38.6% poverty rate, it really affects the people hit the hardest and the most vulnerable populations. That's the poor, that's the disabled, and that is the homeless. Because we're trying to address those areas affected, and if you look at our city, those poor areas have lasting infrastructure effects that need to be addressed and addressed immediately. But we had to put those projects on hold because of COVID-19 and the revenue shortfall that we experienced.